The movie begins with an old man checking his blood pressure. Later that night, we see a father with his daughter. She tells him that she is better than him in every way. He asks, "What? Who told you that?" She replies, "Our teacher." Meanwhile, in another family, a father orders his daughter to bring him water. She refuses and says, "No, I won't. Go get it yourself. I'm no longer going to listen to people." The next morning at school, many parents gather to complain about a teacher who they claim is corrupting their children's minds. The school principal tries to calm them down. When asked who the teacher is, he explains that the man is old and very kind and would never teach children something wrong. But the parents insist. "He did. You should call him now." We then see the old teacher in class, teaching students about being themselves and not changing for society. As he teaches, the principal arrives and asks him to step outside. They go to the office, which is full of angry parents. The teacher asked, "Is something wrong?" The girl replied, "Of course there is. You are infecting our kids with your philosophy." Then the teacher said, "I'm not infecting them. I'm freeing them from the negativity of this world, and you all are also part of the problem." The argument continued, and he said, "You are all like walking dead souls." She angrily walked out while he screamed, "Get out!" As he was shouting, he had a heart attack and fainted. Then at the hospital, we see the principal and a close friend of the man sitting. The doctor came and said, "I'm sorry, he passed away." His close friend started crying, saying he was a good man. Then we have a flashback of her and him talking. He says, "If I ever pass away, please take care of my kid. He has never gone outside, and he's never seen another person besides me." Then we see her going to his place to pick up his son. She went with her two sons. They arrived and entered the house where his son was playing darts. He saw them, but said nothing. He was just amazed, as he had never seen anyone else before. After a while, they took him to their home, and he remained in awe of everything around him. He had never seen a girl before, so he walked up and gently touched her hair while smiling. The mother then told her son, "Show our guest your room." The next morning, the daughter was chilling with her friends in the house. The son told the guest, "We bought you some new clothes, so go change." Then the boys started undressing in front of the girls. They screamed and ran out. The sons quickly came and said, "You can't do that here," and rushed him into his room. Later, the mother was sitting with him and said, "Don't worry, you'll adapt to this world soon, okay?" Then her son came and took him outside. He asked him, "What's your name?" The boy said nothing, so he smiled and said, "I'll call you Naughty from now on." Then at night, we see the mother in her son's room. She tells him, "Naughty will sleep with you tonight because I have guests coming over and I need his bed." The son says, "Please don't do this to me, Mom. I'm scared of him." She replies, "Don't worry, it's only for one night." Later, Naughty comes into the room and starts touching the walls, smiling. Then he begins taking off his clothes. The boy says, "Please stop," but Naughty doesn't listen. He just gets into bed, leaving the boy scared and uncomfortable. The next day, they took him to a barbershop to get his hair cut. But every time the barber tried to cut his hair, Naughty would laugh uncontrollably, so they ended up tying him up gently just to get the haircut done. As they were heading home, Naughty saw some bananas at a fruit stand. He walked up and started eating them without paying. The owner slapped him and yelled, "Get out of here!" That night, we see them at a club, having fun. Naughty notices a girl and smiles. It looks like he likes her. It turns out she's the sister's friend. Then the sister walks up to her brother and asks, "Why are you so skinny?" But he says nothing, because she's clearly drunk. The next morning, all of them were in the living room drinking coffee. The mother asked Naughty, "Can you please pass me the sugar?" He said, "Okay," and went to get it. But as he did, he loudly farted. The whole family was shocked. They quickly told him, "Don't do that when people are around, okay?" He nodded and said, "Okay." Later, they went swimming, and Naughty was talking to the older son. Naughty asked him, "What's the name of the girl over there swimming?" He told him her name and said, "Why do you need her name? Are you in love or something?" Naughty replied, "Yes, I fell in love with her yesterday at the club." The older son laughed and said, "Then go tell her." Naughty, full of excitement, jumped into the pool to approach her, but he didn't know how to swim and started drowning. The lifeguards quickly rushed in and pulled him out of the water. The girl asked him, "Can't you swim?" He replied, "No." She said, "Then why did you jump in?" Nadi answered, "He told me to get in the pool and tell you that I love you." The boys held their heads in embarrassment, and the girl just stayed silent, saying nothing. Later that night, we see Nadi lying in bed, thinking about the girl. He couldn't sleep. In the morning, while the brothers were eating breakfast, Nadi came in looking sad. He told them, "I couldn't sleep last night. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I want you to take me to her." The skinny brother said, "Don't worry, I know where she'll be." So he took Nadi to a restaurant where the girl was. They sat down, and the brother whispered, "Charm her." Nadi tried to impress her by licking his lips and flexing in front of her, but it only made her uncomfortable. That night, when everyone was asleep, Nadi knocked on the door and woke up the skinny brother. He whispered, "Can we go to her?" The skinny brother replied, "Are you crazy? She's asleep right now. I'll get her number from my sister, and you can talk to her tomorrow, okay?" Nadi nodded and said, "Okay." The next morning, they called her, and Nadi quickly said, "I love you, and I want you to be mine." She replied, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm the guy who tried to talk to you at the pool." "Oh, it's you?" she said. Nadi replied, "Yes, it's me. Can we go on a date and have dinner together?" She laughed, not out of disrespect, but because it was such a strange and sudden way to ask someone out. Then she said, "Why not?" The skinny guy hung up the phone, overjoyed for Nadi. Then he turned to him and said, "Let me show you what's going to happen tonight." He took Nadi to his room, stuffed a pillow into a woman's bra, and acted out how to be romantic, touching the pillow and pretending to kiss it. Nadi nodded seriously and said, "Okay, I'll do exactly what you showed me." That night, during the date, they ordered burgers. Nadi looked at her and said, "You look beautiful." She smiled and replied, "Thank you very much." Then, Nadi suddenly tried to do what the skinny guy had shown him earlier. He reached out, touched her shoulder, and started massaging her neck. She pulled back and asked, "What are you doing?" Before she could react, Nadi awkwardly tried to follow the rest of what he was taught. Shocked and offended, she stood up, slapped him, and shouted, "What is wrong with you?" Then she stormed out of the restaurant. A few minutes later, the brothers came to pick Nadi up. They were furious, yelling at him, "You tried that in public? Are you crazy?" Nadi, confused, said, "I did exactly what you told me to do." The skinny brother groaned and replied, "I said that's for in private, not in public. What were you thinking?" Later that night, Nadi couldn't sleep. He went to the skinny guy's room and said, "I can't sleep. Can we go to her house?" The skinny guy replied, "No, she's sleeping right now. But don't worry, her friend is having a birthday party soon. We'll see her there." Nadi said, "Okay," and finally went to sleep. A few days later, they went to the birthday party. Everyone was celebrating and singing "Happy Birthday." Nadi was standing behind the girl he liked. He suddenly started scratching himself, specifically his pubic area, without realizing how it looked. The girl turned around and saw his hands near his pants. She screamed and slapped him, thinking he was doing something inappropriate. The boys took Nadi into the car and asked him what he was doing. He replied, "I was just scratching my pubic hair." That night, we see Nadi alone in his room, crying, feeling ashamed of what he had done. The next morning, the brothers couldn't find him at home. They searched everywhere, worried, and eventually found him walking alone in a random part of town. They ran up to him and begged, "Please come home. We're sorry. We'll talk to the girl and explain everything. Your condition, your past, just come back." Nadi nodded and said, "Okay." Later, the older brother invited the girl out for coffee. He sat with her and gently explained why Nadi behaves the way he does, that he grew up isolated, had no social experience, and didn't mean to make her uncomfortable. He added, "He doesn't always understand what's appropriate to say or do. Please, just give him a chance to be understood." At first, the girl said no, but after a few minutes of heartfelt conversation, the older brother managed to convince her, and she finally said yes. He brought her home, and they all sat down and talked for a while. She finally understood Nadi better, his background, and his intentions. Then Nadi looked at her and asked, "Can we go on a date again?" She smiled and said yes. Nadi was overjoyed. The next day, they went on their date, and it was romantic and fun. They continued to go on more dates, again and again, growing closer each time. Then one night, she turned to Nadi and said, I told my father about you, and he wants to meet you tomorrow. Nadi, a little nervous but excited, replied, okay. Then they shared their first kiss. Nadi went home smiling, full of joy. At home, he excitedly told everyone, I'm going to meet my girlfriend's family tomorrow. The skinny guy burst out laughing and said, what are you going to do when her father asks you what you do for work? Nadi didn't say anything. The skinny guy kept laughing and joked, I don't think you're going to survive that dinner. The next day, Nadi went to her family's house. As soon as the food was served, he started eating aggressively. When her father asked him a question, Nadi didn't answer. He just kept eating. The father looked confused and a bit concerned. Then, to make things worse, Nadi reached over and started eating directly from the father's plate, picking up food with his hands. The girl was completely embarrassed. Then, while they were eating, a fly flew past. Nadi tried to swat it, but accidentally hit her father instead. Her father stood up in shock, walked outside, and called his daughter over. With anger in his voice, he said, get this animal out of my house. That night, Nadi sat alone at home, thinking deeply about everything that had gone wrong. He felt ashamed and heartbroken. Later that evening, the girl messaged him and said, don't be sad. Let's go to the club. It'll help you clear your mind. Nadi agreed, and they went out together. They danced, drank, and enjoyed themselves. After a few hours, they came back home. They went into his room, and she looked at him and gently said, let's be close tonight. Nadi, confused, asked, what do you mean? She smiled and said, let me show you. That night, they shared an intimate and emotional experience together, Nadi learning about love in a new way. Then after a few days, his girlfriend called him and said, I miss you, baby. I can't stop thinking about you. She then said, I'm sorry for not calling you these past few days. Then Nadi said, I miss you too, and I miss your kisses too. He continued, I like your kisses more than your friend's kiss. His girlfriend, shocked, said, what? Nadi replied, yes, we kissed and we slept together. It was very nice. The brothers who were listening were also shocked, because it was their sister that Nadi had slept with. The girl then said, you're joking, right? Nadi said, I'm not joking. She hung up the phone and started crying. 2 months passed, and Nadi was in his room, just sitting there. Then the girl came in, crying, and told him, I might be pregnant. He said, what do you mean? She replied with an angry voice, I'm pregnant with your kid. She was so stressed that she stormed out of the room. A few moments later, her mother came into Nadi's room and asked, why is she upset? Nadi said, she's saying that she's pregnant with my child. Her mother was shocked, and she started crying too. At night, the boys were out at the club, dancing and drinking. A prostitute started staring at Nadi, so he went over, talked to her, and tried to take her home. Meanwhile, the sister called her brother and asked, is Nadi with you? He said, yes. She replied, please, don't let him come home tonight. Her brother asked, why? She said, I'm pregnant with his child. He was shocked. Then she added, mother knows too. She hung up the phone, overwhelmed, and started crying out of regret. So they stopped Nadi from going home with the prostitute. The next morning, the family was talking, and the mother said, I think they should get married. Her sons disagreed and said, that will never happen. He doesn't know anything about relationships. The mother started crying. Later, the brothers went to Nadi's room and asked him, do you want to marry our sister? Nadi said, yes. They asked, what about your ex-girlfriend? He answered, I love her too, so I will marry her also. The brothers lost hope because they knew he didn't understand what love and marriage really mean. Days passed, and we see that the family had decided they should get married. So his ex came to say goodbye to him one last time. They stood together in silence for a moment, then both said goodbye to each other, tears in their eyes. They started crying. Finally, she looked at him and said, I will always love you. Then she turned around and walked away. At the house, the family was gathered, talking quietly. The older brother broke the silence, saying, I don't think they should get married. If they do, it will only end badly. The girl started crying, her voice trembling. I don't know what to say. I'm not sure anymore. After a long pause, she whispered, okay, I don't want to marry him. She turned and walked away, tears streaming down her face. The older brother then picked up his phone and called Nadi's ex-girlfriend. He told her quietly, Nadi won't be getting married. Hearing this, she rushed over to their home, crying. When she arrived, Nadi saw her and tears welled up in his eyes. They embraced tightly, their past pain and heartbreak melting away in that moment. Two souls reunited, ready to face whatever comes next, together.